What if I told you that organic on a budget is actually possible? I'm Kirstin Nussgruber from Kirstin'sCancerCare.com, and I help people with cancer get out of overwhelm by teaching them how to reclaim their lives. One very important aspect when it comes to our nutritional choices and nutritional habits is to make sure that the food that we get is nutrient dense, that we get high quality food. Now, we know that that food can be a lot more expensive, and that is a factor that prohibits many of my clients from being able to commit fully to buying organic all the time. And I really understand that. So what I want to quickly focus on in this brief video today is to show you that organic on a budget is indeed possible, but I also want to highlight why organic, or let's say pesticide-free, is so important for us. So one of the biggest reasons that we really have to pay attention to what goes into the food that we consume is whatever is put in to, for example, livestock, or put on top of fresh produce that we then ingest is something that we can absorb. And toxins, or added hormones, or antibiotics, or pesticides, they can bioaccumulate in our body, and that can be a problem because not all of us are able to deal with such a toxic burden. So we each are unique individuals. We carry individual toxic burdens around with us. We are exposed to all kinds of toxins in this modern day living, and many of us are able to deal with it fine, but some of us just don't have the capacity to deal with the toxic burden. So by focusing on food, which we need every single day, that's one area where we could concentrate on the importance of making sure that what we ingest is as clean as possibly can be. Now, the toxic exposure needs to be reduced, but it also what goes with that. So if we carry this toxic burden with us, and we, unless we have ourselves tested extensively, and you can of course do that, and also understanding how well our body can break down certain substances. There are tests for that. Certain genetic markers look for that to see if you have certain SNPs, certain mutations in that area. But another important factor is that underlying this can be an increased risk for certain chronic diseases, such as cancer, such as certain autoimmune conditions. Again, if the body is too toxic and cannot detoxify properly, then our immune system is affected. And of course, that's the basis of what enables our body to maintain balance when we are exposed to certain challenges, and some of us can cope with a little bit better than others. So another important fact too when it comes to organic is that we kind of are concerned about animal welfare. We're also concerned about the environmental impact, because we kind of need to get out of this frame of mind of living for the now. We have to kind of look a little bit long-term and plan ahead. What kind of future are we creating for our children and for their children? We know about the limited resources that we have. We know about the extent of global warming that it has. So we need to become a little bit more mindful too about what are we doing to our environment. And maybe we need to change a couple of our own habits. And what do I mean by that? Organic on a budget. Well, first of all, we can select certain foods and say, all right, those are the ones I really should be getting organic, and we have information available that helps us make that decision. The Environmental Working Group here in the United States is a not-for-profit organization that's basically there to provide you, or us, the consumer, with information so that we can make better choices. And it has a so-called dirty dozen list. It's actually 14 on that list, but never mind, they started it off with dirty dozen in the fresh produce section, where they say these 14 items maintain pesticides the longest and absorb it the deepest. So if you can only afford to go organic for those 14 items, that's what you should be doing. So that's a very good starting point for some of us, where at least we can make those kinds of decisions. and decide, all right, well, at least we'll focus on those 14 items in the fresh produce section. When it comes to eggs, for example, same thing. We will actually start to discover how eggs from hens that have been able to be outside taste so much better. The yolks have a different color. The quality of the fats, the different essential fatty acids inside such eggs, there's a difference there. So hens, or rather eggs from hens that are conventionally raised, very often these battery hens that never, have the chance to go outside, and certainly are raised just to produce. So the quality of those eggs are a lot inferior. And we can, for example, go and find some local eggs, find your local farmer, support them. They may not necessarily be officially organic, but at least you kind of can start a conversation and ask them what do they do if they have certain issues where, conventional would then resort to certain antibiotics. And by the way, conventional poultry farmers generally often have to use antibiotics in a prophylactic manner just because of the unhygienic conditions that these chickens are exposed to. And so, in other words, we are exposed to those levels of antibiotics all the time. And of course, that can cause antibiotic resistance in us humans. So when we really need antibiotics to help us, then they may not work for us. Meat is the same thing. We have to kind of be very mindful of the meat because, once again, conventionally raised meats can be riddled with growth hormones, can be riddled with also antibiotics. So we need to, once again, make that choice. Like maybe go back to the olden days where meat was a speciality. So you may have had that on the weekends, and during the week you ate more of a vegetarian menu. And those are choices we can take. We don't need to have access to everything all the time. We can make those choices and decide when we buy meat, we're going to buy high quality meat, but we don't have to have meat as the protein every single night. There are other protein choices available to us. And that's really what smart shopping is all about, trying to weigh up the quality of our food with what's available to me. And maybe I need to tweak my choices here because I'm just so used to having everything that I want all the time. Maybe that's not the solution after all. So organic on a budget, we can go to the Environmental Working Group's site or just Google Dirty Dozen, and the list of 14 items will come up. And maybe just, there are some movies out there. Food Inc. is one of them, Food Incorporated, that shows you how conventional meat is actually being produced or raised, what it comes from. And, that might sway you a little bit towards deciding, I'm going to also focus on high quality meat. Maybe also go to my local farmer. He may not have the official organic seal, but once again, I can ask that person and make sure, what kind of methods do they use. And you probably will find a pretty clean product as a result of that. And maybe you don't need to have that meat every single day. And of course, with eggs, it's the same thing. I drive up to our local farm and I see the hens running around outside, picking in the dirt, which is what they are naturally supposed to do. Those are happy chickens. And those eggs, they have a shell. You need to hit pretty hard to open that shell. So it shows that these hens are happy. And of course, then the content of that egg will also, it tastes better, has a better color, and just a better nutrient profile. So we need to be mindful of what we put inside our body so that we make it strong and that it is able to actually fight for us when it is supposed to. More tips on this are found in the downloadable guide here, my little booklet that I have for you, Smart Food Shopper's Guide. So I hope you click on it and find the information in there useful to just, reconnect yourself with the kitchen and with the cooking process like, we used to, and what we really, really need to do these days to remain strong from within. Take care for now.